So, I've decided to build my first mining rig. In this video, I will show you the exact parts I've used, the issues I've had, and how I solved them. I will show you how to build your mining rig starting from zero. This was a fascinating project because for the previous 10 plus years, I was used to my MacBook Pro and every Apple device, so getting back into PC hardware was very intriguing for me. For example, I was very fascinated about how the modern GPUs look nowadays, all massive with bright LEDs, nothing like back in the early 2000s when I touched my previous video card that was a plain green computer chip. So this should be an exciting new hobby for me that generates passive Bitcoin. So let's get to it. The first thing I did was I researched what could be the best possible GPU for my rig. 3 top candidates came up: RTX 3060 Ti, RTX 3070 and 3080s. I decided to go for the 3070, and if I get hooked, I'd get some more 3080s additionally afterwards. Luckily, my local online store had 5 3070s, so I bought those. Of course, the prices were higher than a few months ago, but what you gonna do? It's a free market, supply and demand, and scalpers. I decided to buy them at these prices rather than spend weeks or months trying to find these cards for their original prices. After the GPUs had arrived, I've researched the best motherboards for the mining. Turns out, the best motherboard does not have to be anything special. I guess the more PCIe Express slots the better, so I bought a used H110 BTC Pro one off eBay. I've also ordered a generic SSD drive, some 8GB of RAM, GPU risers off AliExpress, and some fans and a frame to hold everything together. The rig will require some serious power, so I've ordered 2 1200 volt power supplies. One was used but in good condition, and the other one I've got from Mineshop EU, together with the connection cable, so I can connect both of them to the same motherboard. Since I have no Ethernet cables, I've also ordered this Wi-Fi module. Okay, since the mining frame is still on the way, let's put this thing together. Here is a tip for you that I had to learn the hard way. Seems simple now, but I fell for it. So, when ordering your motherboard and CPU, always check what CPUs does the motherboard support. When I ordered my Core i3 10 series CPU, I just checked that the socket is compatible and made the order. Now I had to go out and get a used older i3 model that is supported by the motherboard. By the way, it was tough to find an old compatible CPU for this motherboard. All were sold out. Since I wanted my rig to be as quiet as possible, I ordered this fanless heatsink for my CPU. Since this is my first rig, I will be using Windows 10 and NiceHash. The main thing I like about NiceHash that it lets you mine the most profitable coins, but the payout is made in Bitcoin, and since my goal is to accumulate as much Bitcoin as possible, this sounds very good for me. Okay, so the first GPU is in, the drivers from Nvidia are installed. Now let's try to add all the other cards. And this is where I've experienced my first problems. For some reason, on the random occasions, Windows did not recognize some of the GPUs. I've installed them one by one, but it was a real pain to get all of them recognized and displayed in the device manager. The thing that kind of fixed this for me was number one, I put all the PCI extension chips in regular order, like shown here, instead of putting them randomly on the board. Number two, and this is a good tip, when ordering your GPU razors, no matter where you order from, get more than you will need. I ordered 6 of them and 2 of them did not work, or they did work with problems, so I had to replace them. Another significant issue I've ran into was the Wi-Fi signal issue. After a small Google search, I found out that I am not the only one who has this problem with the H110 motherboard. The point is, after a few hours of usage, the Wi-Fi speed gets really slow and disappears. It is a very interesting issue, and some users report that this also affects those who use Ethernet cable. After hours of research, I did find few bits and pieces of information on how I could solve this issue. So maybe if you come across the same issue, this might help you. In the motherboard BIOS settings, I disabled onboard LAN, I disabled onboard VGA, I did increase the virtual RAM in Windows and put the Wi-Fi module in USB extender and put it as far away from the motherboard as possible. And one of these things seemed to work, for my Wi-Fi is still stable as ever since. And after a while I just bought a 5G module and installed that, so that was even better. So if you're searching for a good Wi-Fi module, go ahead and buy the 5G one. So if we are talking tips and tricks, here is another tip for you. This might sound very simple, but if ignored, it can cause your GPU to be damaged beyond repair. When installing the GPU Razer chips on motherboard PCI slots, always be aware about the direction you put them in. The space for work is very limited, and it is possible to put the chip inside the PCI slot backwards. I did just that by accident, and that's how I lost another GPU riser, but thankfully the GPU itself was safe. I've read online that many people have lost their GPUs this way, so yeah. Also, when installing the GPU risers, put a piece of paper in between them. Their design is strange and some metal parts could touch and damage the riser or GPU. So make sure to put a piece of paper in between them if you are using the same motherboard. So at this point the 3080s have arrived and now it's time to install them. These guys produce a lot more heat. Now it is time to talk about power. ThunderBeagle is provided by two 12,000 watt GPUs. Each power outlet has a watt meter, so I can monitor the current power consumption. These guys display both watts and kilowatt hours, and you can even set your own price so you know exactly how much you are spending money on electricity. Also, I want to mention a few things in Windows operating system that I changed for everything to be smooth. In case of a system reboot, when I am not around, I need Windows to load up automatically without asking me to enter my login info. This is where a small app comes in handy. This lets Windows automatically log in without the password request. Also important, increase your virtual memory in Windows. NiceHash website has a nice friendly guide for this. I'll link it below. So there you have it. This is my current mining rig, ThunderBeagle, generating now around 500 megahash. It's running 5 3070s, 2 3080s. It's generating quite the heat. I'm not sure what we're gonna do in summer, but during winter it can easily fill a 25 square meter room really easily. Yeah, thank you for watching.